For those of you in the audience that don't know, Brand Total provides social competitive intelligence, and we aggregate and consolidate information across multiple channels. This is interesting because of what Gayle's saying. We bring in information from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Amazon, display banner ads, and aggregate that all together. But we do that both in organic and in the targeted dark ads. Gayle, I know when you started with us, this was a key point of interest for you, because in social, you otherwise have no visibility into those dark ads, into your competitive advertisers and how they're targeting those audiences. I'd love for you to speak just for a minute or two around how that visibility into dark plus organic, because I know you guys look at both of them together, is influencing what you're doing day to day.
I think that was one of the things that I found super interesting when I first met you guys, was actually, I think in one of your presentations, you showed us an Apple Twitter feed that has no tweets on it, and actually they are tweeting all of the time. And I think then that really brought home actually what brands are doing. And you know, when we look at some of our traditional I suppose social media monitoring tools, it doesn't necessarily pick up on the dark posts, and so we're getting a much more rounded picture of what's happening in the scene.
Well, so 30 categories across that extremely complex ecosystem, direct retailers, department stores, e-commerce, now social selling. When we look across that, I'd love to know, or I'm sure the audience would love to know, how you're handling some of those complexities, specifically 30 brands across multiple categories. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're keeping your eye on competition across that complex ecosystem?
You know, they've always helped us with competitive reporting, and we would tend to use a system called Nielsen for offline reporting. We found that online reporting is really poor, and it doesn't really track, and it doesn't bear any relation to reality. So for many, many years, I was looking for an alternative for an online share of voice tracking. And when I came across you guys, I said, if it's going to do everything that I think it's going to do, I'm going to fall off my chair. And I put it to test. I tried it, tested it, and I pretty much fell off my chair. So we now try and combine both the offline and the online to give us a true picture of our total share of voice and what's going on with our competitors online. And I think it's another tool in the armory. Obviously we don't do everything based on share of voice, and you know, we'll activate our plans as opposed to what our competitors are doing. But I think it's really good to have a finger on the pulse and really understand what's going on in the market, and equally understanding what creatives people are playing and what messaging. Obviously, we're using Nielsen for offline share of voice. We use Brand Total for online share of voice. But a lot of our brand managers and our what we call digital engagement managers, who are really looking after our social content, they have access to it as well, and they would be using. So they might use this in combination with NetBase to really understand sentiment.
And then we talked about some other brand metrics. Are there things that you're paying attention to? I know you sit on the perch of paid media. Where are you spending your money and what's working? But some of the other partners that you have across your business, some of your peers across the space, what are they asking about, and which other metrics are they paying attention to where paid media can complement what L'Oreal overall is doing?
Engagement. They're looking at how well that creative is resonating with different audiences. And, you know, I think we're looking at brand lift. We're looking at lots of different brand awareness. We look at a lot of different measures. But I think, the main thing for the brand teams is very much about creative and brand lift. And I think the digital engagement manager is very much about engagement. So there's a real mix across the business.
Is there anything that stands out that you guys have uncovered from Brand Total that you don't think you would have seen elsewhere? And again, we're talking about competitive intelligence. Any ads, any competitors, any disruptors?
And traditionally it would have said absolutely nothing on offline. So we've seen it on a couple of our major competitors. They're posting, they're active online, on YouTube, on Facebook, but they're doing absolutely nothing offline. So we wouldn't have known that otherwise. And I think there's definitely something in terms of understanding how new launches are working and what we should be doing. The other interesting one is that we are now trying to see how we can integrate brand total data into our econometric models to see if that's going to bring anything in there as well. So I think there's way more to go. We've only just scratched the surface, but I think it's such a good addition to our tool set, and really starting to bring some understanding of what's happening online. I think we've been talking about online for so many years, and it's over 50% of spend, and yet we have very little way of tracking what's going on. It's well overdue.